Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a mix of things that I want to share with you. It is a warm, sunny morning here in Southwest Florida. It is 88 degrees Fahrenheit and it's 11 o'clock. You know, half hour ago when I was starting to set it up, it was way cooler, but clouds have dissipated. The sun is out, so the temperatures are climbing, so yay for my orchids. What I wanted to do, I've got a mix of things I want to share with you today. So I've got a couple of new orchids, new acquisitions that I'm pretty excited about. I've got some blooms, and I think finally I have some seedlings. With the new orchids that I got, I went back up to Sundance Orchids in Fort Myers to pick up some of my flasks, and I just, you know, when you go orchid shopping, as you know, even if there's no intent of picking anything up, you do. And so that's what happened to me. So you know, I went up there. It was a nice morning. Not too many people were there at the time, and I just started looking around, and as you might imagine, a few orchids caught my eye, and I wanted to share those with you. And those are actually these two small orchids right here. The first one is it's a species. I got a species. I saw it. I'm attracted to the small pots, which means the lower price. So this is a Cattleyas eclandii, and I'm confused on a little bit because of what the label says. And what the label says, it says eclandii in parentheses 4N, so I assume that's a tetraploid, but then it says times, and then single quotes, Midnight Beauty. So I'm just going to assume that this is a tetraploid. I don't know if it's a tetraploid that was crossed with an eclandii that was Midnight Beauty, or what this was exactly. I talk with the people that work there and that make the tags, and sometimes when they get their orchids in, it's a little hard for them to determine what exactly they are. So they just put everything on that's on the label of the orchids that they get in, they put on the tags. But it is an eclandii species, and I assume it is a tetraploid. I'm not really sure where it came from, but what attracted me to this plant out of the other ones that were there is, well, you know, I like eclandii. I don't have one yet. It's a species. It is a small species, so I'm trying to get some smaller Cattleyas in my breeding. But the thing that attracted me to this plant is that it's vigorous. It has roots growing out over the pot. It has this nice bifoliate leaves coming out here, and what I liked about this is the spotting on this leaf. So eclandii, most of them are spotted, and my tastes are starting to change a little bit, so I'm starting to get a little bit more interested in the smaller orchids, and I'm starting to get more intrigued by spotting. So I looked at the progeny of eclandii, and many of them have spotting from this species. The other thing that attracted me to this specific plant is that, I'll get a close-up of this, there's a new pseudobulb growing out of this. So it appears to be a vigorous plant. I don't know whether this is a seedling or a clone, and to be honest, it doesn't matter that much. It is just a species, and that's important to me. So we'll see how this goes. It is growing over the edge of the pot with a new pseudobulb that's coming out, and so I think probably what I'm going to try to do is repot this in something that is more appropriate for my space. I should mention that Sundance Orchids and RF Orchids are the two places that I've been where I buy orchids and I can keep it in the potting mix that they provide. The potting mix that they use works out really well for longer term growth, but this isn't a small, just because this is to the edge of the pot, I need to repot this. So anyway, this is the first one that I picked up, was a Cattleyas eclandii. All right, the second one that I picked up, and it's probably going to be a little while until I get a bloom. I'm not really that familiar with this plant. I think the flowers, like I said, are a little smaller. I know the plant is obviously small, but we'll see how it goes. The second one that I picked up is this gem, and I picked this up because when I did my last video on Sundance, where I actually went through, you know, most of the plants and looked and saw what was going on, I didn't really highlight, I don't think I highlighted this one, but as I was going through editing my video, I saw this in my video, and I looked it up, and I'm like, huh. So then I went back and picked it up. The label on this, it's a little bit, so this says Cattleyas Orchid Eros, and I looked up and there's no registered Cattleyas Orchid Eros, but Orchid Eros is a company that is in Hawaii, that is founded by Ben Oliveros, who used to be in Georgia. Now he's in Hawaii. This guy is an incredible hybridizer of species and just orchids in general, very knowledgeable. And so what this lists at in parentheses is Cattleyas nobilior times Cattleyas eclandii. And if eclandii sounds familiar, well, that's what this is. So this is a primary hybrid between two species, and that's nobilior and eclandii. I looked this up on Orchid Roots, and this is actually, it's not Cattleyas Orchid Eros. It may have been generated by Ben Oliveros. He makes a lot of crosses, but this is Cattleyas Magarlin, M-A-G-A-R-L-I-N. I'll put it on the screen. So this is and I really like most of the, when you look up Orchid Roots, under Cattleyas Magarlin, you find most of the flowers I really like. And I like the ones that have spotting from eclandii. Again, the relatedness, a lot of these things, it's really surprising, and we'll get to some other ones in just a little bit. But this is a really nice, vigorous plant. Again, growing, so the edge of the pot is here. It's growing over the edge of the pot, really on both sides. There's a new pseudobulb coming out of the other side too. So I think this needs to go in a bigger pot, and I think even though people are critical of putting orchids in pots that they consider to be too big, I have no problem with that. I like putting orchids in bigger pots. So this is in maybe a 3.5 inch pot, and this is going to go in a 6 inch pot because it's growing both sides over the edge of the pot, and the roots are outside and growing over, and it needs to be repotted. I don't know whether I mentioned, but yay, there is a flower bud coming out on this. So I think probably in a couple of weeks I will know what I have. I'm looking to see if there's any spots on this. But the flower on this primary hybrid is, as you might imagine, it's a little bigger than either of the parents, and again, I'm excited because it's a larger flower, and look at the plant. The plant itself is fairly small, so this I think is a nice plant that I'm going to use in my breeding. Now I'm not going to use, because this may be the first flower. It's probably the first flower. I don't see any other spent spikes on this, but I am probably just going to harvest the pollinia and use this to make some other crosses. So I'm pretty excited about this. I'll be more excited, and I'll let you know what I see from this, but I'll be more excited if this is a bigger flower and it has some spots on it. Okay, so moving on. All right, so I'm excited. These are my two new acquisitions from Sundance. I should mention that the price on both of these was marked as $30, which I think is a very reasonable price for plants of this quality and caliber. Okay, all right, so let's move on a little bit off from the seedlings. So I wanted to share with you a plant that you can't see, that may be out of your view, and that is this plant right here. So this has bloomed for me in the past. This is a Guar Katonia Keepsake. And this was a plant that I took from a cutting from a I think I might have just pulled off you know, one pseudobulb where I saw there was an eye, maybe two, but I don't think so. I think I took this from one pseudobulb that was on one of my neighbor's plants. He had a nice bigger plant, and I just cut off a little tiny piece, and that was years ago. Oh yeah, I got it dated. So it's actually 3 years ago to this day, to this, well, month, same month. And this thing has grown nicely. I think it's flowered once previously, but it grows pretty well. And like the other one, it has new pseudobulbs growing out from both sides of the plant. The pot size is just fine for this. It's growing very well. And this is mostly, this is a Why Not cross hybrid. So Why Not is one of the parents. On the other side of this cross is the grandparent is Cattleyas eclandii. So really interesting thing going on here. There's no spots here. There's no fragrance, but it is just a nice, prolific small plant that seems to like where it's located, and it seems to be doing pretty well. It was in a smaller pot, so I repotted it fairly recently. But it seems to like its new location. It's doing well. It's got a lot of nice roots growing out of it, and it's a nice little plant. Again, it's not a plant that I would buy normally, but I kind of, again, borrowed a piece from my neighbor's plant. I went over. So what happens? And let me tell you about this. My neighbor is not here right now, so they have another house. They go to their other house on occasion, and when they're gone, I ask permission. It's okay. I slip in and water his orchids. He's got orchids in the front of his house under his front pergola, and they also have some in the trees that I mounted. So I sneak in and water the plants, and I've been watching the parent plant of this, and I snuck over there today and took a video of it, and it doesn't look good to the point where it is no longer living. So I just thought it might be fun to slip this plant in where the parent plant was located, and just to kind of gift this back to him, because he did allow me to take a little pseudobulb from that plant. It's doing well. Again, it's not my favorite. Maybe I'll wait a little while. Maybe I'll make a division of this and keep that, and then give him the larger main plant. So again, this is a Guar Katonia Keepsake, and the cultivar I think is Denver Gold on this. Yeah. So anyway, this is an interesting plant, and again, the interesting thing is that this is a grandparent of this. I'm not sure you see too much of the eclandii in this plant, but the genetics are available, and so you can see what that is. The other one that I wanted to share with you that is a relative of this is this one right here, that another neighbor gave to me. And this neighbor's moving. This plant is doing really well. It's got some flowers over here. Again, small flowers that I don't necessarily I'm going to buy for myself. But this is a Latonia Jamaica Red. And these are related a little bit. This is, I think, 75% Broctonia sanguinaria. And this one is 25% of that same species. So, and it's interesting because the flowers do look pretty similar. They're small, and there's similar ancestry in both of these orchids. This one continues to do really well. It's just, I don't even know if there's a pot in the middle of all this, but this is just in a basket where it's just growing up higher. It grows from both sides there. You can see there's another there's another flower spike coming out here. But this thing is another one of these ever bloomers that puts out a new flower, and puts out a new pseudobulb, a new flower, new pseudobulb, new flower. And you don't get really a huge amount of flowers at one time, but still it's a nice, I guess what you could consider an ever-blooming orchid. So I wanted to share this one with you because of the relatedness to this one right here, and just because it is blooming and it's a nice plant. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is what I did yesterday. And so what I did yesterday was I took some of my seedlings. So I've got a lot of seedlings, and these are from the crosses that I've made. I've got a lot of my seedlings are getting pretty big, and some of them I try to get rid of, either gift or part with, or have some other people try to grow them. But then I have limited space for my own hybrids. So, and I keep a list, I keep a spreadsheet of the plants that I take from 2-inch pots, which is what I deflask my seedlings into, and then those go into 4-inch pots. And I potted up some of those 2-inch pots. I go through and I get the biggest ones, but I don't like to duplicate too much. Some of them I have 6 of, which is too much. So I like to spread it out a little bit because I got so many hybrids and I got so many more coming. So these are some that I've, that I put in 4-inch pots. These aren't the ones that I did yesterday. I think I probably did these about a month ago. But as you can see here, they're doing pretty well, and most people, would look at this and go, "Oh, they didn't need to be moved. You could have kept them in the 2-inch pot." And I know that, but I like putting things in the bigger pots. And what happens when you put things in these larger pots is, I think you get a little bit of a surge in growth. The roots can spread out and really grow nicely. So this is what I spent about 2 hours yesterday doing. And when I was repotting, Plant Propagator Junior called me, and she likes orchids as much as I do, and I put her on speaker and I potted up these. I think I might have done maybe a dozen plants. So I potted those up as I was talking with her, and it kind of felt like the old days when we used to garden together. We're 1,000 miles apart, but I was potting up my seedlings and talking with her on the phone at the same time, and she was looking at her orchids that are currently outside. She's in the Midwest, takes them outside in the summertime, and it was fun. It reminded me of old times. But anyway, so I just wanted to share with you, some of the things that are going on with my orchids, new plants, some of my blooms, and then some of my seedlings that I transplanted from the 2-inch pots into the 4-inch pots that just are loving it, and they seem to be doing well. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.